The house was boiling with secrets. First, one maid whispered she was pregnant. Then another came with the same confession. And then another, until 10 women, including the master's own daughter, were all carrying the same man's child. His name was Ken, just 20 years old, a boy who came to the city with dreams of survival, but instead became the center of a scandal that shook the whole of Onitsha. Ken's story began in a small village in eastern Nigeria. His parents were poor, but they were respected for being kind and hardworking. His father, Pa Obi, was a palm wine tapper. Every day, long before the sun rose, Pa Obi carried his climbing rope and his small calabash and went into the forest. He would climb the tallest palm trees with nothing but his bare feet and strength, tap the trees carefully, and collect sweet wine that he sold in the market. His mother, Mema Nkechi, was a farmer. She had a small piece of land where she planted cassava, yam, and vegetables. When she wasn't on the farm, she was in front of their mud house, pounding cassava, peeling yam, or frying gari in a big black pot over firewood. Life was very hard. The family never had enough money. Most times, Ken and his 2 younger siblings ate only once a day. At night, they sat on the floor of their small kitchen, dipping balls of gari into watery soup with only a few leaves floating inside. Meat was a luxury they tasted only during Christmas. But despite the poverty, there was love. Ken's parents loved him deeply. They believed he was special. Whenever old people in the village saw him, they blessed him. "This boy will be great," they often said. Ken himself was different from many boys. He was handsome, with smooth dark skin, bright eyes, and a gentle smile that could melt anyone's heart. He was also respectful. He always greeted elders with a bow, and he never raised his voice at anyone. At school, he was brilliant. Even though his exercise books were old and his pencils were short, he always came top of his class. Teachers loved him. His friends admired him. But the place where Ken shined the most was the church. Every Sunday, he carried his small Bible and walked proudly to the Catholic church. He was an altar boy, always kneeling in his white robe, ringing the bell when the priest lifted the Eucharist. People in the village admired him. Many whispered, "This one will surely become a priest." Ken himself believed it. He once told his mother, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to serve God fully. I want to become a priest." His mother smiled sadly. "My son, it is good to dream. But do you know how much money it takes to train a priest?" She didn't want to break his heart, but she knew their family could never afford it. Still, Ken held on to the dream. Every night before sleeping, he knelt down on their mud floor and prayed, asking God to help his family and bless his future. But life was about to change. After finishing junior secondary school, Ken could no longer continue. His father couldn't pay the fees. His mother cried, begging neighbors for help, but nobody could support them. Ken stayed at home, helping on the farm and fetching palm wine with his father. It seemed like his dream of becoming a priest was over. But God had other plans. One dry season, Ken's uncle, Jude, came to the village. Uncle Jude was different from everyone else. He was a successful trader in Onitsha main market. He wore shiny clothes, gold wristwatches, and carried a big phone that looked like a television. He drove into the village in a Toyota Highlander Jeep that made children run after it, shouting with excitement. The whole compound gathered to welcome him. Mema Nkechi cooked rice and stew, something they usually reserved for Christmas. Everyone sat around as Uncle Jude ate, laughing and talking loudly. After eating, he sat with Pa Obi under the mango tree. He looked at Ken and said, "This boy is growing fast." "How old is he now?" 15, Pa Obi replied. Uncle Jude nodded. "Good age. I need a boy in my shop. Someone who can learn trade. You know the system, serve me for 6 or 7 years, and I will settle him with money to start his own business." Mema Nkechi's eyes widened. Pa Obi almost dropped his calabash of palm wine. They both knew what that meant. It was a golden opportunity. If Ken served faithfully, his life could change forever. That night, Ken's parents called him inside. "My son," his father said, "your uncle has spoken. He wants you to go with him to the city. You will serve him as an apprentice, and if you are faithful, you will one day have your own shop." Ken's heart beat fast. The city. He had only heard stories about it. Stories of tall buildings, bright lights, big cars, and endless opportunities. He knelt down immediately and said, "Papa, Mama, I will go." 2 weeks later, Ken packed his few clothes inside a small metal box. His mother tied a wrapper and cried as she hugged him. "Remember where you came from. Respect your uncle. Work hard. And never forget God." Ken nodded, his eyes filled with tears. His father placed a rough hand on his shoulder and said, "Do not shame us, my son. Go and make us proud." And just like that, Ken left the dusty village road and entered his uncle's jeep, heading to the city that would change his life forever. The first sight of Onitsha left Ken speechless. Cars honked everywhere. Traders shouted in the streets. Tall buildings rose into the sky. He pressed his face to the window like a little child, watching the world he had only dreamed about. When they finally reached his uncle's house, Ken gasped. The mansion stood tall with a wide compound, shiny paint, and a big iron gate. Inside, the furniture sparkled, the floor shone like glass, and there was even a television bigger than the blackboard in his village school. But he quickly learned the rules of the house. Wake by 5 a.m., follow his uncle to the market daily, never sit on the main dining table, respect Madam Grace, and never cause trouble. Ken accepted everything. He was just grateful to be in such a place. But inside this house full of luxury, secrets, and temptations waited for him. The first night in his uncle's house felt like a dream. Ken was given a small room at the back of the boys' quarters. It was not as grand as the main house, but to him, it was heaven. The mattress was soft, the floor was tiled, and there was even an electric fan that whirred gently in the corner. In his village, he had never seen such comfort. That evening, Madam Grace, his uncle's wife, introduced him to the household staff. There were 6 maids, 2 cleaners, 1 cook, and a driver. They all looked at Ken curiously, whispering among themselves. Some smiled warmly, others eyed him with suspicion. Dinner time came. The family gathered at the large dining table inside the main house. The table was long and polished, with shining plates and silver spoons neatly arranged. Madam Grace sat at the head, Uncle Jude at the other end, while their 3 children Ada, the only girl, and her 2 younger brothers sat in between. Ken and the staff, however, ate separately in the backyard. They were served in stainless steel plates and sat on wooden benches. At first, Ken felt awkward, but soon he began to enjoy the chatter and laughter among the staff. They spoke freely, joked about Madam Grace's strictness, and gossiped about market prices and neighborhood issues. The city had its rules, but it also had its charm. Ken noticed that everyone in the house had their duties. The cook, Auntie Rose, spent most of her day in the kitchen. Amora, the youngest maid, was in charge of sweeping the compound and running errands. Ngozi washed and ironed clothes. Nene, the chief maid, supervised all of them. From the very first night, Ken noticed that Nene's eyes lingered on him longer than usual. She smiled at him as she dished extra meat into his plate. He smiled back innocently, grateful for the kindness. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Ken's uncle banged on his door. "Ken, wake up. We are going to the shop." Ken jumped up, dressed quickly, and followed his uncle. The journey to Onitsha main market was overwhelming. The market was like a living city of its own. Everywhere was noisy, traders shouting, customers bargaining, wheelbarrow pushers pushing goods, horns blaring, hawkers selling food. His uncle's shop was one of the biggest in the building materials section. It had stacks of cement, piles of iron rods, roofing sheets, nails, and paint buckets. Customers came from different towns to buy in bulk. Ken's duties were clear: sweep the shop, arrange goods neatly, carry heavy bags of cement for customers, run errands to nearby stalls, and make sure water was available for visitors. He worked tirelessly, sweating, but never complained. Sometimes, his uncle shouted at him in front of customers if he made mistakes. But Ken remained humble. He told himself, "This is my training. If I am patient, one day I will have my own shop." By evening, his uncle locked up the shop and drove home. Ken returned exhausted, but there was always food waiting in the backyard with the staff. That was how his routine began: market during the day, staff quarters at night. But it was in those evening meals and late-night hours that his life would slowly begin to change. Among all the staff, Nene stood out. She was not only older than the others, but also more confident and bold. She was in her late 20s, plump, with smooth skin and a commanding voice. Everyone respected her because Madame Grace trusted her to manage the household. Nene quickly took interest in Ken. She noticed how innocent he looked, how hard he worked, and how polite he was. She began treating him specially. When food was served, she secretly added more to his plate. If a quarrel broke out among the staff, she always took his side. When Madame Grace shouted at him for being too slow, Nene would later comfort him, saying, "Don't worry, my dear. That's how Madame behaves. You just focus on your work." At first, Ken thought nothing of it. He simply saw Nene as a kind big sister. He was even grateful, because life in the city was lonely for him. Her attention made him feel less like a stranger. But Nene wanted more. One evening, after dinner, she called him aside. "Ken, come and help me carry something in my room." He followed innocently. Inside her room, she locked the door and smiled at him. "Sit down," she said softly. Ken sat on the edge of the bed, confused. Nene moved closer, her eyes fixed on him. Then she placed her hand on his shoulder. Ken froze. "Auntie Nene, what are you doing?" She laughed. "Shush, don't be afraid. You are no longer a small boy. I just want to take care of you." That night, Nene coerced him into his first intimate experience. Ken was overwhelmed and confused. But she held him close and whispered, "Don't worry. This will be our secret." From that day, it became a routine. Every night, after Ken returned from the shop, Nene found a way to call him into her room. He was young, inexperienced, and soon he became addicted. At first, he told himself it was harmless. But slowly, this secret relationship was pulling him into a life he never imagined. The more Ken spent time with Nene, the more he changed. He began looking forward to evenings, not just to rest after the market, but to sneak into Nene's room. She treated him with tenderness, cooked extra food for him, even gave him small money when he needed it. But the house was full of eyes. The other maids noticed the closeness. They noticed how Nene always sided with him, how she smiled at him differently. Jealousy started brewing. One night, when Nene traveled to the village for a funeral, Ken felt restless. He couldn't sleep. That was when Amora, the youngest maid, knocked on his door. She whispered, "Ken, I saw how Nene treats you. Don't think you are the only one who likes you. I like you too." Ken hesitated, but the temptation was too strong. That was how another secret began. And once the door was opened, there was no turning back. He slept with more and more maids daily. Soon, almost every girl in the house was on his night timetable. The house was no longer the same. What began as innocent secret meetings between Ken and Nene had now spread like fire in dry Harmattan grass. Every corner of the house had become a hiding place for stolen kisses, whispered promises, and lies. Ken was now walking on thin ice, but he didn't even know it. The domestic staff began to gossip among themselves. The cooks would whisper in the kitchen. The maids would exchange looks whenever Ken passed. Even the gateman, an old man named Barberchike, once told Ken in a joking way, "This your charm day work oh. If care is not taken, you go turn lion inside this house." Ken laughed, pretending not to understand, but inside he knew Barberchike's words carried truth. Nene, who first lured him into this life, was getting jealous. She noticed how Ken's eyes would wander toward other girls. One night after dinner, she confronted him in his small room at the back of the boys' quarters. "Ken, you think I don't know? You think I don't see the way you look at Ada, the cook's assistant? I'm warning you, if you try anything with her, I will scatter this house." Ken, trying to pacify her, pulled her close and whispered sweetly, "Nene, you are the only one I love. The others mean nothing to me. It's you I see in my dreams." But Nene didn't fully believe him. That night, she cried quietly after leaving his room. Ken never expected to fall into trouble with his uncle's daughter, Kyoma. She was only a little younger than him, just 19. Unlike the maids, Kyoma had grown up with luxury. She attended a private school, wore designer clothes, and ate at the big family dining table. But she was lonely. Her parents were always busy with business and travels. She noticed Ken because he was different from the other domestic staff. He was quiet, respectful, prayerful, and hardworking in the shop. Whenever he came back tired at night, he never complained. One day, when Kyoma saw him carrying heavy goods from the car, sweat rolling down his dark skin, something stirred in her heart. At first, she teased him playfully whenever she caught him washing plates with the staff. Later, she began to sneak him snacks and drinks. "Ken, don't tell anyone I gave you this," she would whisper, slipping biscuits or juice into his hands. Ken knew it was dangerous. If his uncle's wife ever suspected anything, his life in the city would be over. But Kyoma was persistent. She would look for excuses to be around him, asking him to help fix her broken school bag, or to carry her shopping bags from the car. One night, when everyone had gone to bed, Kyoma knocked softly on his window. Ken's heart raced. When he opened, she was standing there in her nightdress, her hair loose. "Ken, I can't sleep," she whispered. From that night, a forbidden relationship began. Unlike the maids, Kyoma didn't hide her feelings. She would write Ken little notes, sometimes slipping them into his pocket before he left for the market. Her notes always ended with, "Promise me you will marry me when you are settled." Ken, overwhelmed, always promised. But deep inside, he knew he had promised marriage to too many girls. Life inside Uncle's compound had become very noisy, not with sound, but with secrets. The house was big, the compound was wide, but walls have ears, and whispers traveled faster than the evening wind. Every evening, after Ken returned from the shop and finished eating in the kitchen with the other workers, the staff would sit in small groups to gossip. Some would be cutting vegetables for the next day, some washing plates, others scrubbing the floor. But the real work going on was the spreading of stories. The gossip always started small. "Nene always gives Ken better meat in his soup. I saw her yesterday," one maid would say. Another would reply, "That's not true. I also see how Ken looks at Amora whenever she walks past him. His eyes don't leave her body." The gossip always circled back to Ken, because somehow, Ken was at the center of everything without even knowing it. He didn't know how much they talked about him after lights went off, or how the girls compared what he told each of them in private. One night, after supper, Nene accused one of the younger maids, Ngozi, of leaving her sweeping duty unfinished. But everybody knew the quarrel was not really about sweeping. It was about Ken. Ngozi had been seen laughing with him at the water tank that afternoon, and Nene was not happy. "You won't respect yourself, you silly girl," Nene shouted. "It's me who always covers you from Madam every day, but you always find ways to follow small boys, right?" Ngozi, embarrassed but not willing to look weak, threw down the broom. "Which small boy? If you think Ken is your property, then you are dream. He has never told me you are the one he loves." The whole kitchen went silent. Pots stopped clanging. Even the houseboy who was fetching water stood still. Everyone knew the quarrel had now gone deeper. Ken, who had just come in from the shop, froze at the door. He wanted to pretend he hadn't heard anything, but both girls turned their eyes on him at once. "Ken," Nene said, folding her arms, "tell this girl exactly what you told me last night. Tell her you said you can't marry any other person except me." Ngozi hissed, eyes sharp like pepper. "Talk, Ken. Or are you scared? If it's really true you don't want me, why did you promise me money when your boss finally settles you?" Ken's chest tightened. He knew his words were like matches. Once he threw them, they could burn the whole kitchen. So he forced a weak smile. "Two of you are just angry for nothing," he said. "Why are you taking my matter seriously? Isn't it friendship? I respect you both." But the girls were not satisfied. Their faces told him they wanted more. They wanted promises. They wanted to be sure. That was the day Ken realized that managing two women under one roof was harder than carrying all the heavy loads in the market. That night, when lights were off, Ken couldn't sleep. He kept turning on his mat, thinking of how the quarrels were growing. If two girls were already fighting, what would happen when more secrets came out? Uncle Jude's wife, Madame Ephema, had always been strict. She ran the household like a soldier. Every domestic staff feared her voice. She would clap her hands once, and everybody would scatter like chickens. But Madam was not blind. She had begun to notice small things. Ken was always too close to the kitchen. He would laugh too much with the maids. And whenever she shouted his name from far away, he would come out looking guilty, as if he was hiding something. One afternoon, while she was in the sitting room with her friends, she overheard two maids whispering in the corridor. They were talking about Ken and how Nene always gave him extra meat. Madam frowned. She said nothing that day. But she began to observe more carefully. The first thing she noticed was how Nene's eyes followed Ken around. The second thing was how Ken avoided looking at her daughter, Amora, whenever she entered the room, as if avoiding eye contact was safer. That avoidance was what convinced Madam that there was something hidden. That evening, she called Nene privately. "Nene, how long have you been in this house?" she asked. 5 years, Madam," Nene replied, eyes downcast. "And you are comfortable? Do I treat you well?" "Yes, Madam. You treat me well." Madam leaned forward. "So why are you eyeing the small boy my husband brought from the village? You think I don't see it?" Nene's heart jumped. She quickly knelt down. "Madam, please, I meant no harm. It's just pity I have for him." "Pity?" Madam laughed dryly. "Better control yourself. Because if my husband hears this nonsense, you will carry your load and leave this house." That warning shook Nene, but instead of stopping, it made her more desperate. She decided she must do something fast to keep Ken before Madam separated them. The house became a ticking time bomb. One after the other, the girls began to notice changes in their bodies. At first, it was Nene who confided in Ken. "Ken, I think I am pregnant." Ken froze. His hands trembled. "Are you sure?" "Yes. I missed my period for 2 months now. And I know it's you." He tried to console her, telling her to keep quiet, that once his uncle settled him, he would marry her properly. But not long after, Ada, the cook's assistant, also approached him with the same news. Then another maid. Each of them believed they were the only one carrying Ken's child. By the time Kyoma herself discovered she was pregnant, the house was already boiling with secret quarrels among the staff. They would hiss at each other in the corridors, fight over small things, and cry in their rooms. Nobody wanted to openly confess because they were afraid of losing their jobs. Kyoma's pregnancy was the breaking point. When her mother noticed her daughter vomiting in the mornings and refusing food, she became suspicious. She confronted her in her room. "Kyoma, what is wrong with you? Don't lie to me." Tears rolled down Kyoma's face as she whispered, "Mummy, I'm pregnant." Her mother almost fainted. "Pregnant? Who is the father?" When Kyoma answered, "Ken," the whole house shook with scandal. The house that night was hotter than fire. The madam had locked herself in her bedroom, crying. The uncle sat in the sitting room with his wrapper tied carelessly around his waist, shaking his legs and fanning himself angrily with a newspaper. Ken stood at the corner of the room like a criminal on trial. His heart was beating like a talking drum. All the maids were seated on the floor, their heads bent, some crying, some whispering, and some holding their stomachs in fear. The uncle's daughter, Kyoma, sat on the chair opposite her father. Her face was red with tears. Her hands trembled as she tried to explain herself. "Papa, I didn't know. I didn't plan it," she kept saying in a weak voice. The uncle slapped the armrest of his chair so hard that everyone jumped. "You didn't plan it. A whole daughter of mine, inside my own house, with a common Noir boy. Do you want to kill me before my time?" The madam came out at that point, her wrapper loose on her chest. "My husband, don't kill yourself, oh. Leave this girl for me. Ken. This shameless boy. He will explain tonight how he managed to sleep with my daughter under my nose. In fact, all of you," she pointed at the maids with her long, shaking finger, "you will explain how all this nonsense started." The room was quiet. Only sniffles and heavy breathing filled the air. Ken stood there, his legs shaking, his lips dry. He wanted to speak, but no words came out. He knew that no matter what he said, nobody would believe him. "Ken, you stupid boy," his uncle shouted, slapping the table so hard the cups rattled. "You came here to serve me, to learn trade. Is this how you repay me? By sleeping with my daughter? Ken's knees grew weak. He tried to talk. Uncle, I didn't mean. Shut up, the man barked. You think you can spoil my daughter's life? You think I will allow a poor boy like you to enter my family? Never. But before Ken could defend himself, Nene stepped forward from the corner of the room. She had tears in her eyes, but her voice was firm. Madam, Ogre. Ken is not only with Kyoma. He is also with me. The whole house froze again. What? Madam screamed. You too? Yes, Nene said boldly. And I am carrying his child. At that, Ngozi burst into tears. Me too, madam. I didn't want to say it, but I am also pregnant. The cook Mama Stella shouted, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Inside my kitchen, even the shy Esther from the laundry raised her hand, whispering that Ken had been with her too. The uncle jumped up from his chair. What kind of abomination is this? Before anyone could recover, another maid started crying loudly. Madam, it is true, me too. And then another whispered. Me too. One after the other, each maid began to confess. Some cried, some held their stomachs, some pointed at Ken, calling his name. Ken promised me marriage. He said I was the only one he loved. He used to come to my room every night. He gave me sweet words. By the time they finished talking, the whole truth was out. 10 girls. 10 pregnancies. All for Ken. The living room turned into a courtroom of shame. The uncle fell back on his chair, holding his chest as if he would faint. The madam screamed and cursed. Kyoma cried until she almost collapsed. That night, the compound shook with anger, cries, and accusations. Madam was inconsolable. She locked herself inside her room and refused to eat. She shouted through the door, "This boy has ruined our home. He must leave immediately." His uncle paced up and down like a wounded lion. The domestic staff were gathered outside, whispering among themselves. Some of them blamed Ken, others blamed Nene for introducing him to such behavior. A few even laughed quietly, saying, "This boy is a real Don Juan." 10 girls at once. Wonders shall never end. Ken sat alone in the corner of the boys' quarters. His head was in his hands. He felt his life crumbling. He thought of his poor parents in the village. How would they ever face the shame? He thought of his dream of becoming a successful trader and one day opening his own shop. Everything seemed gone in one night. Nene came to him secretly, her face swollen from crying. She touched his shoulder. Ken, I know you are confused. But don't worry. I will stand by you. Even if they send us away, we will find a way. But Ken couldn't even look at her. Nene, what have we done? How did I get myself into this mess? The next morning, Ken's uncle did something that shocked everyone. He carried the matter to the police. A van came with 2 officers in uniform. They entered the compound with notebooks, ready to take statements. One of the officers said, "This is a serious case. 10 women. And one of them is under your roof, Ogre's daughter. This boy must face the law." They handcuffed Ken like a common criminal. The domestic staff wailed. Some begged for mercy. Others shouted at Ken, blaming him for their ruined lives. Kyoma's father roared, "He must pay child support for all of them. He must suffer for bringing shame into my house." Ken's legs trembled as the officers pushed him into the police van. He looked back one last time. He saw the faces of the 10 girls he had once loved, now filled with tears, anger, and regret. The police cell was dark and smelled of urine. Ken sat on the cold floor, hugging his knees. His mind raced. "How did I get here?" he whispered to himself. "I only came to the city to serve my uncle, to learn trade. I wanted to help my family. I wanted to make them proud. But now look at me. My life is finished." Other prisoners in the cell laughed when they heard his story. One said, "Young boy, you are a hero. 10 women at once. Even me, with all my strength, I couldn't manage that." But Ken didn't smile. His chest was heavy. He thought of his mother's face. He thought of the church back home where he used to be an altar boy, dreaming of becoming a priest. Tears rolled down his cheeks. The case dragged on for weeks. The police made Ken sign papers promising that once he was settled or found work, he would provide for the children. The domestic staff were all dismissed. His uncle's family never wanted to see him again. When Ken was finally released from custody, he had nowhere to go. He carried a small bag of clothes and walked aimlessly through the streets of the city. His dreams of success, his reputation as the good boy from the village, everything had collapsed. But deep inside, Ken still had hope. He whispered to himself, "I will rise again. Even if the world rejects me now, I will not remain on the ground. These children will not grow up fatherless. One day, I will tell my story."